Welcome back, everybody. Over the past several weeks, we've seen multiple Biden administration officials traveling overseas, specifically to China. First, Secretary of State Antony Blinken made a trip to Beijing to meet with Xi Jinping. Then just days ago, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen took her infamous bow to her Chinese counterpart. And we can't forget about climate czar John Kerry stopping in Great Britain with President Biden before jetting over to Beijing. Now more than ever, I think we need to kind of fault ourselves a little bit for being naive and ignorant as China becomes more successful on the world stage. But lucky for us, we have congressmen like Georgia's own Austin Scott, who is fighting on the front lines to bolster our national defense and protect our intelligence, despite the Biden administration's ability to do so. And he joins us now. Congressman, welcome back to the show, sir.
Hey, Amanda and John. Hope you're doing good. Thanks for having us.
Good to have you.
We are happy to have you, and I want to hit on an important topic. When you took office, you went to Capitol Hill armed with a bunch of great ideas, and we always love talking about those here on this show. With respect to the National Defense Authorization Act, you had 31 amendments and changes that you wanted to be adopted during the markup session. Can you talk to us about some of your favorite ones?
Yeah, I think the Chinese battery technology, the prohibition on purchasing it, is probably the best one, Amanda. So less than 2 weeks after the Chinese spy balloon was downed, Ford Motor Company announced a contract with CATL Technology, which is owned by Communist China, to develop battery technology here inside the United States. We put an amendment in the NDAA in committee that said that the DoD funds could not be used to purchase CATL battery technology. We did get a couple of phone calls and where people informed us of other Chinese battery technology that was potentially being purchased with our U.S. tax dollars, and so the amendment is being expanded to include those other companies as well. And I just want to say this about what the Biden administration has done. It is bigger than just this one issue. They are pushing us as a country down a path that gives China significantly more control over our manufacturing and our transportation. We do not have the raw materials in this country to manufacture these batteries. We can do hybrids, we can do a lot of things in this country, but their policies are making us more dependent on China for both the battery technology and the manufacturing components that are required for this battery technology. It's not something that they should have done, and we sure don't need U.S. tax dollars going to support the Communist Chinese government by purchasing this technology.
Yeah, I think we have so much education to do on that front, Congressman. I don't think Americans understand how many tethers we're building to China on really critical things to our future. I want to ask a little bit about other things in the NDAA discussion that's going on right now. There seems to be a lot of focus in the military on focusing on race issues and diversity and equity issues, not enough on war fighting. Joe Biden's overseas. He lets it slip that we're short on ammunition. I want to ask you about the wisdom of just letting our enemies know that. But two, maybe are we not having enough eye on our supply chain for our military, the most important defense items that we need?
Yes. So again, this is something that many of us on the Armed Services Committee have been talking about for years. Yep. Is the supply chain and the way we purchase things through the DoD, and not doing long-term contracts with our suppliers that give them the ability to give us one, a better deal for what we're buying, but two, a more ready supply and a reserve that we need. So we have been working in the right direction on this, I think, in the last couple of years. But you certainly wouldn't tell the opposing team if your quarterback was hurt. Yep. And you sure shouldn't tell the opposing team if you have a shortage of munitions, whether you have that or not. I'll leave for him to explain, because I don't want to get into disclosing or not disclosing things that I'm baffled he would even talk about. Imagine if Donald Trump had done that. I mean, the outcry
yes.
of such an irresponsible statement being made. I do want to go back, John, and love you, respect you. I want to take issue with you on one thing.
Sure.
I think the American citizens absolutely understand how the Biden policies are making us more dependent on China. I think it's a refusal of the Biden administration to accept what they're doing. The American citizens understand exactly what Biden is doing by saying we have to move to battery operated vehicles when they know the supply chain originates in China. They know the technology originates in China. It is the Biden administration that just refuses to admit the error and the foolishness of this decision. The American citizens get it and they don't like it.
Yeah, polling does show that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I think that that's thanks to Republicans like you. And I wanted to ask you, Congressman, there seems, I have this characterization of the relationship with China, and I would love if you would just kind of discuss it, because as I look at our reliance on China, not just with technology, but with pharmaceuticals, it often seems like this is technology or inventions that originated here in the United States. And then because of intellectual theft, China ends up with the technology or the formula or whatever the case may be. And then they end up making money off of us with our own technology and inventions. Is that a mischaracterization?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, Syngenta Seed Company, you look at Kim China, you look at the way China has been smart about how they have accumulated seed technology and the input technology just to grow our food right here in the United States of America. A lot of that stuff was developed in our land grant institutions. So, seed technology, chemical technology, a lot of those things are funded by U.S. taxpayers. They go into the private sector, and then unfortunately the Federal Trade Commission has allowed a lot of consolidation in those fields, and then the Chinese are smart enough to buy it. I don't blame the Chinese for being smart. I blame us for being naive and in many cases stupid with what we've done over the last several years and allowing them to accumulate things that the U.S. taxpayers paid for.
Yeah, such a great point. So I want to ask I want to stay on China for just one more second, because it is the critical issue of our future here. I've been going through some text messages that the FBI's had for several years. It's in a public case where you now see that Hunter Biden and his business partners knew that what the Chinese were doing in that CEFC China deal was allowing the Chinese to use the Biden name to go roll up American energy resources and send them to Beijing. They're going to make these public in a couple of days, but it's very clear that that was the case. Has there been enough focus in the official parts of our government on the possible damage assessment or national security losses that the Biden family relationships may have caused this country?
No, absolutely not. And where my party, I believe, is making a mistake is we need to, again, allow Jim Jordan and Jamie Comer to handle their investigations, because I don't need people watching your show to understand what has happened. I think most people watching your show understand it. I've got to get people who voted for Joe Biden to understand what has happened. And so I need Jim and Jamie carrying out the investigations in such a manner that every single American who will look at any reasonable analysis would understand what has happened over the course of time. And when we have these arguments as a party over the rule over the National Defense Authorization Act, which came out of committee with only one dissenting vote, it gives the press, the mainstream media, the opportunity to focus on this drama, if you will, over the NDAA rule vote, which is really irrelevant in the course of time, because the NDAA is going to pass. We're going to have a good National Defense Authorization Act. Yes. It gives them the ability to focus on the drama instead of on what they need to be focusing on, which is the revelations that are coming out of the investigations from the Oversight and the Judiciary Committee. And so we as a party, we've got to keep our focus on those investigations to continue to expose what Hunter and Joe have made from these relationships that they've had with people that are our adversaries. Yeah. And we need to get rid of the drama that allows the mainstream media to ignore it.
Yeah, great point.
Right. Well, and Hunter Biden and Biden relationship with the FBI was at the heart of some of the conversations. We've just got about 45 seconds left. America watched on as embattled FBI Director Christopher Wray answered before Jim Jordan's committee. What are your thoughts on some of the things he had to say?
Yeah, look, the problem is that the FBI go back to before Christopher Wray was there. It is a situation where they do not understand the loss of credibility that they have as an agency from what's been done in the last several years. And I want to make this clear. The FBI agents that I know that are on the street, very honorable people that we depend on for our security as citizens of this country. We've got a problem in the upper echelon.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The rank and file are always doing their job. It's the brass that's the problem usually. All right, everybody, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.